Hello, cinema friends. Welcome to another edition of Cinesundry. I'm your host, Markus Seaberry, and today we're going to talk about a film with woman warriors from Africa as we review The Woman King. All right, now before we get into our review of The Woman King, I want to remind you about our rating system. There they are. That rating below me is our tour. That is for those top shelf, top tier films, normally some of the best projects you've seen all year. And that rating right there, that's our middle rating. That is middling. That is for those projects that have potential or promise, but didn't quite come through or deliver on that potential or promise and wind up being just okay. And that bottom rating, that is hack. That is for those terrible, dismal, abysmal, god-awful projects that probably shouldn't have been made in the first place. All right. And now before we get into this review, I've got to introduce people because I always say nerding out or talking about movies is better when it's with a group, when it's with people. So now I want to introduce someone who's familiar to Cinesundry listeners, Miss Gale Jones-Carson. Hey, how are you?
I'm good, Marcus. How are you? I'm glad to be back with you again.
Yeah, yes. It's always a good time. When you have those spirited discussions.
So we're gonna be good on this movie today, right?
I hope so. I'm just honest, man.
Well, Marcus, okay. So The Woman King is an amazing story of the Jogi, the all-female unit of warriors who protected the African Kingdom of Dahomey in the 1800s with skills and a fierceness unlike any the world has ever seen by women. It was inspired by true events. The Woman King follows emotionally epic journey of General Nanaska, who is played by Oscar-winning actress Viola Davis, as she trains the next generation of recruits and readies them for battle against the enemy. This is an amazing movie of women warriors who are protecting their tribe against slavery, selling slaves, even though generations before their tribe did sell slaves, some of the people are slaves, but this new group of women, they decided to change that. They didn't want to sell people. They didn't want to continue getting rich off of the lives of other people. So they all changed, and they had to fight their enemies, but anyway, this is an awesome movie. The storyline is great, and the acting, Marcus, is undeniably great. It's action packed from beginning to end, and it has you on your ends of your seats. And but anyway, it's an amazing movie, and that's the best description I can say of it.
I like it. I think you covered all the bases. Well, all right. So that was our rundown. But now, guys, we got to get into these actors, man. Yes, acting and director technique. All right. First off, of course, we got to talk about the lead woman, the big boss of this outfit, Viola Davis as Naniska. Now, of course, you've seen Viola Davis in just so many amazing things like Fences and The Help and the TV show How to Get Away with Murder. Her Naniscas is, a tough, diehard warrior, lord of her tribe. But, also as you go through the movie, you kind of see she's masking and dealing with some trauma. How'd you feel about Viola Davis's portrayal in this movie?
One of the things I will say about Viola Davis, for me now, I have seen her stretch. She will tear herself all the way down physically and mentally and emotionally for a role. She's one of the greatest actresses living right now. She's up at the top for me as far as her acting. And in this role, she worked on her body. She worked on a whole lot of stuff to prepare herself for this role. And I can't say enough about how well she played the role. I mean, she really got into the role, and the things that as I watched it and watched it throughout the movie and saw and learned all of the things that she had been through in her life that prepared her to be this general, to be trusted by the king, and that she was such a great warrior and a strategist and fighter that he made her equal to any man warrior. She became the woman king. Viola Davis she is, I mean, she's tops when it comes to acting.
I agree. Literally one of the best people doing it on earth today.
Well, she is definitely on my Shiro list. I can tell you that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, man, I've been a fan since what was that film she did with Meryl Streep, where Meryl Streep played the nun Doubt. That's
Yeah.
how long I've been rocking with Viola Davis. I saw it, I was like, oh, she's amazing.
And I watched the Murder She Wrote. I mean, the murder series that she played. I watched it every week. I watched it over and over again because I mean, her acting is just, my word is amazing, and that is that is the equivalent of Viola Davis.
Oh yeah, definitely. She's a living, breathing master class. Well, all right. Also, in talking about these actors, got to talk about Tuso Mbedu. She plays Nawi. Nawi is like a new recruit to the Agoji. Her father's basically disowning her. He's like, you won't do right. Every time I try to get you married off, you act funny and resistant to your would be husband. So he was like, I'm giving you to the king. And the Agoji are like, come here, we got her. And it's cool, it's always cool when you see like a group of or a movie about a team, you have that kind of POV character who's coming in almost from the beginning like you and going through all the initiation and all the rigor. I thought she did great. And I mean, like, this is the first thing I've seen her in. I know she's a South African actress.
And she's won a lot of awards as well.
Yeah. And she was in an Amazon Prime series called The Underground Railroad that I did not watch it. I probably need to go back and watch it. But I'm like, I am sold on her. She was amazing. Like, you see the transformation, from timid girl to warrior woman. I want more of Tuso. Put her in all the things.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, her acting was phenomenal. She came into the role that she played as, like I said, my word is amazing. She was fierce. She was fierce. And it was the one of the things as you watched the movie and you learned later in the movie who she really was. She was so much like the character Viola Davis played. Her even as a child, the way she fought back, she didn't take anything. She didn't follow rules. She was so much like Viola Davis's role.
Yeah, because our producer says she held her own next to Viola. Yes, we agree.
I mean, she was really a good actress. I'm expecting great things from this young lady. She had me. Her acting, everything was compelling. She was, like I said, I'm expecting great things from her. You would think that when people see her in this role, they will look to see her down the road in other things because she just was really good. I mean, all of the acting, I can't tell you. I mean, from the beginning to the end, the acting was great. The storyline was great. It just is I mean, I've not heard one person who's seen the movie not like the movie. Now, you have some critics of the movie because they want to talk about whether it's actually true, if it actually
Mhm.
happened. Well, a lot of times when you have movies as documentaries are based on fact or fiction or whatever, some of it's going to be good. But this movie right here is so action packed. It's so good. Uh, I mean, like I said, I can't stress enough the storyline and the acting, how great it was.
Yeah. And the last actor that we want to talk about is Lashana Lynch. You may have seen her in the last James Bond movie. She was also in Captain Marvel. Had a little small part in the last Doctor Strange movie. And she is the warrior woman. I believe her name was.
She also played in one of the Marvels movies as well. So
Yeah. That's what I was saying. She was in Doctor Strange and
uh-huh.
briefly, and she was in Captain Marvel, and she was a Zogi in this film.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much just warrior born, warrior bred. She was just, it was like she was born for it, and she lived for it. She was kind of like a general, I guess. I don't know if they had that position, but she was high ranking, and she was just very experienced and very good and very skilled in combat. I
And I yeah, and I really liked how she took the younger ones on and trained them and guided them and worked with them to make sure that they were great and let them know when they were messing up. And the daughter character, she stayed on her, and she showed a strong sisterhood. And that's what a lot of that was about. All of those women and those girls fighting together and working together. I mean, there may have been some foolishness, but we didn't see it because they were so busy, uh, training and practicing, and that they had to fight and they had to go into war. And I mean, they didn't play those ladies. They cut heads and
yeah,
I mean, they were true warriors. And they were true to what they were doing. They didn't marry. They didn't have male relationships. They they decided they were not going to have babies. They were committed to fighting for their people, and they were on task. Now the young lady, she kind of messed up a little bit, but she still, but she saved Viola's life. Her
yeah,
mother, well, we find out later she was her mother, but she saved her life at least 2 or 3 times. Even though Viola Davis got real upset with her the first time because she broke the rules and said, we got to be a team, you got to follow rules and stuff. But Viola Davis wasn't following rules. This girl was just like her, just like her.
I agree. I agree. Like I said, man, just so many just brilliant, amazing
I mean,
performances.
I just really wonder. I mean, you know, when they did the casting, and I guess they saw the greatness in all these actresses and actors, because that's all I saw on that screen was just great acting.
Yeah, and what was cool to me is to discover people like uh Tuso and Bedu, because like this is my first time seeing her in something, and there were like other people, and as I was kind of doing research, I was like, oh, so this guy's from Africa, and this person is from such and such, and that's
Mm-hmm.
why I've never seen them, because this is kind of one of their biggest, I guess, projects to be seen in America. So that was fascinating for me. Um, yeah, like I said, just
Yeah,
undisputable, undeniable. This is an amazing cast.
and so the last numbers I saw, they had brought in more than $40 million. So it's doing extremely well. All the things that I've read, audiences are giving it an A+.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I said, you do have some critics who are questioning the authenticity of it. Was it true? But I mean, it touched on so many things. It touched on misogyny. It touched on trauma. It touched on rape. It touched on uh,
yeah,
so many human elements
yeah,
that made the character Viola Davis played who she was. I mean, she was. I mean, she was amazing.
Oh, and
As young people would describe her, she was a beast.
yes, she was a beast. And also we got to talk about director's technique. The director of this movie is Gina
Mhm.
Prince Bythewood. Now you may have seen Love and Basketball, which she directed. She also directed The Old Guard with Charlize Theron. That was kind of a comic action adventure Netflix film. I think I think her directing, her choices were great. I mean, the fight scenes were just, yes, they were tough and brutal, but also they were just shot so well, and it was just just so rough and gritty. It kind of felt like you were there.
It was
Just
really realistic. The fighting was realistic,
yeah,
and to see sometimes they had a small number of women fighting large numbers of men, and for them to capture and to win, it was just to have them run off. It was
yeah,
amazing to see. I mean, this really happened, and supposedly it is based on a true story, a tribe that around the 1800s, tribal women who were fierce. And one of the questions is about about the selling of people, which I have a problem with all the time. Is Africans selling their own people? But this tribe wanted to turn that around, and they worked on that.
yeah. Well, that is the story in this movie. Historically, it might be different, but we're gonna get into that. But right now, it's time for a commercial break.
Okay. Spoiler alert.
Oh, and I guess we're back. Um, well, all right. We've been hinting at it. We've been hinting at it. I guess we gotta get into a discussion about the historical inaccuracies and how some people were calling for boycotts of this film. Yeah, spoiler discussion, which I think is a little extreme. But I'm gonna kind of make the conversation a little more rich. I'm gonna bring in another person, person I've known for years in real life. She's been in the radio game for a while, also a filmmaker. Uh, Y'all, please give a warm welcome to Christy Taylor.
Hi, Miss Christy.
Hi! First of all, I am so geeked to be a part of this. I love you all's recap thus far, and I'm like, ooh, this is going to be a good discussion. A good discussion.
Well,
Thank
with you
you.
being a talk show host, I guess you're no stranger to discussions and talks and chats. So this should be like,
I'm here as a movie lover. I'm here as a movie lover. That's what I'm here as today. So I'm following you all's lead, and I'm going to just get into it as you all get into it.
And so, Christy, I agree with you on that. I mean, I just love movies. So I look at a lot of movies differently with a different perspective, different eyes than most people. They look at a whole lot of other stuff, but I'm just looking at, how compelling is it? Does it keep my attention the whole time? Is it action packed? Is it a great love story? And so, all of the expectations I have for great movies, Woman King met those expectations.
And I will say, as a movie lover who, as Marcus stated, I am a produced screenwriter, and I will even claim in this moment I'm a budding filmmaker, finally going to inch my way behind the camera and get into some producing. So say a prayer for your sis. But definitely, we can even start, all great movies start with a story. I
Mhm.
would be interested to kind of run it back to the actual story that this is based on, and even the source material. And I believe the producer, let me see her name. I think it's Maria,
Mhm.
one of
Maria
the
Bello, who is also an
yeah,
actor.
yeah, she's a producer, storyteller, executive producer. I mean, she has a long list of credits. I mean, she's been in the game since the 1990s. So of course she's high elk, she's high in the game when it comes to getting things greenlit. But can we go to the story? What's your all take on the actual story of the Woman King? Stripping away the actors, stripping away the cinematography, the great director, Gina Prince Bythewood. But was this a great story?
Well, for me, it was a great story.
Okay.
Like I said, I've always had problems with Africans selling their own people, and with this story, you have women warriors. Well, their history showed that their people did sell people, but then you got these new women warriors who want to change that history, who want to stop selling people, who want to find other ways, sell other things to remain wealthy. To me, I love that. Many we over here in America right now because Africans sold our ancestors.
That is
Then
correct.
you have Africans, these women who wanted to change that, and they did. They did. They changed it. She convinced the king to let's not do this anymore. Let's find other ways to get wealthy, but not by selling our people.
Okay, so for some, I mean, just stripping that down. What about you, Marcus? What's your take on just the story? I mean, as a black man in America, seeing this historical story in a narrative form.
I mean, just taking the script and the story in itself. I mean, I thought it was amazing. I thought it was spectacular. And it's like, it's just nice to see. Like, it's just a nice, I mean, it's still a nice change of pace to see
Mm-hmm.
badass women, badass black women, particularly in a day and age where so many actors are still having to settle for a sassy black friend in a rom com.
Right.
And these women are like, no, we are kicking ass and taking names. And we are
Exactly.
bad and we are warriors. I mean, that was cool to see. That was refreshing to see. That's something like I'd want my niece to see. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, I just thought that it was beautiful, it was powerful, and it was engaging.
Mm.
One thing I loved is that like nobody felt like an insignificant character, like
Right. The character
yeah,
development was definitely on point. Yeah, the character development was on point. Mm-hmm.
Azogi had a story. Of course, Naniska had a story. Her friend, the mulatto guy, there's just all these elements, and they just
It, and
Let
I
me
liked his story. I liked his story too. His mother sent him there, and he found himself, and he
mm-hmm.
found that he loved that country and his people.
Yeah.
Those were his people, and he ended up, loving her, the daughter. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that right there. That was a good love story. Good love story.
So just taking the script apart, if we wanted to take a moment to break that down, I really do think that that they definitely approached the script from a way where
Mhm.
it was woman centric. While they did have the king there, who was wonderfully played by John, I always say make sure I say his name, Boyega,
yeah.
and he was even keeled throughout the whole story. It definitely was a woman centric story. Um, and I will say this, that everybody character was fully developed, no character was wasted, and even the dialogue, there was nothing unnecessary, because when you're writing a good script, yeah, you have a lot of action, because that was an action epic film, but even the dialogue was revealing the characters in a nice slow way. I like how they hit jewels and gems and secrets, until it was time to be revealed, and to be like, wait a minute, because there's nothing like having a good story. Like, wait a minute, did that person just say this and that? So even that was amazing the way they approached it. But can I get to this?
Kristen, Kristen, as you talk about how each character, we didn't touch on the women who were not warriors, the women who stayed in the house, the women who were jealous of the warriors, who was jealous of Viola Davis's character, and who thought the one of the wives who thought she had major influence on the king, and she almost won him over later on. But when Viola Davis came back, she had conquered, she became the woman king.
I did walk away, as with just the story. We're not going to get into the performances yet, not the acting, but just the story. I did walk away feeling very inspired, and I really this is why I must write. This is why I have to overcome whatever my internal writer's block may be, to tell great stories, big and small, from the African diaspora, those small little stories to those big epic stories, because these type of messaging is important. Now, how did I feel when I found out? Because of course, let me just say this: I love Gina Prince Bythewood. Like I said, from her early career throughout everything she's done, I've always enjoyed her, as they say, the female gaze and how she interpreted the story and probably how she colored the story. And when I did find out that the writer and the, let's say the writer and the producers were white females, I kind of felt a little tinge like, ugh. Ooh, I did for a minute. I was like, ooh, it's
but
like
they did good. They did
good. But I'm just telling you as a storyteller, because it's like, ooh, but I do know that Gina Prince Bythewood had to really bring the color and depth to the characters as they interpreted the script. Because I will say that there was a sense of romanticizing the African story. And the one takeaway as a writer, I thought, is how would this have been communicated if it had been an African writer and an African director? So that's the only question in my head, because I know that the white female and the black female, we are romanticizing an African tribe of women who are legendary. But it would have been interesting, because I do watch quite a few films and television shows that are by African writers and directors, and they do have a extra depth to how they interpret their world. So that's the only thing that I took away. Is like we're romanticizing this because they were not nice women. They were warriors. They took lives. They were, as some say, they were the undesirable who couldn't be bedded or wedded. So they could have had chips on their shoulders. But Viola.
Do you think they had chips on their shoulders, or they were raised to be and do what they did?
Well, see, how do we know historically?
Because remember, some of them started out as little girls.
But okay, so
now Viola, she had a whole lot going on.
Because once again, now we're just talking story. Like some of the ones who were part of the warrior tribe had been enslaved themselves by that tribe and given an opportunity to join the king's army, like one of the young ladies who became her friend. So it wasn't always peaches and cream. With the approach to becoming a part of the king's army. As you say, our young character, she was forced into it because she was too aggressive when it came to getting married. So what part, great question. So what part of the story is truth and what part of it would be fiction? I think there is a romanticizing that we are enjoying, because I totally am enjoying it, I ain't gonna lie, with this story, because let's just say, right now in America, with all the things that we have going on, let's say with Black Lives Matter or the crime, criminal justice, and let's just say that the Black Lives Matter had become the Black renegade and it was all women, and they were doing the same type of aggressive pushback with violence against those that were oppressing us. I think that there would be some depth to our stories that would not fare well in the storybook. So I'm just saying, as far as story, I just wanted to bring that out.
Well, actually, to kind of piggyback off that, the Black Lives Matter movement was founded by women.
Yes, he was.
And that has bothered like a
And it
lot
has,
of
and
black
it was
men.
demonized, and it was demonized
Yeah.
in this present time. But I think 100 years or 1,000 years from now, based upon, as they
Mhm.
say, the good outweighs the bad, those same women who are being vilified today are going to be worshipped in the future. So I'm just saying, I know with the concept of story that there is a romantic, especially that closing scene where we see Viola's character, the young lady that we discover is her daughter, and the other one who was like her, let's just say her guardian. They are standing there looking at the slave ships, and that one entry point that they always say is the point into West Africa when it came to the slave trade. And I totally loved that ending shot,
I did
because
too.
it's like they were like, we're now committed to ending this once and for all. But like you said, the story also says they made a lot of money off of selling other Africans. And then they came to a part, the redemptive part of the story is they were like, let's no longer participate in this and find new ways to maintain our wealth. So I just
But
thought that
Chris, I do have a question of you. When you talk about the romanticizing that was done, with your role in movies and directing and writing, how would you have done? Would you have done anything differently?
I think that I would think in this moment, I probably would not. I'm going to tell you the real reason why. I don't think being an African American woman at my age, trying to tell the story of women in Africa, that I would have made them, I would have humanized them, just like Viola character. Viola Davis beautifully humanized this very complicated woman. But I think being of
I think
African,
she really seemed really human
yes.
when with the daughter. And I thought it was
Yes. Oh my
amazing
God.
how when she had that
Yes.
little girl, she put
Yes.
that tooth or whatever in
Yes.
the back of her. So I guess she thought maybe she would find her one day. And she did. But they showed
Yes.
that as fierce a woman as she was, they showed
Yes.
the
Yes.
mother and the love in this fierce woman who was, I mean, she was a general, she was a killer, she was a beast,
She
but
was,
she
and that
still
was
was
the
a
reason.
mother.
Yes. Yes. And just what, Gail, that's the reason she defied the king at the end of the movie, because she wanted to go rescue her daughter.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that
that was
right there.
beautiful.
No, but she was going out there. That's motherhood. I'm telling you, that's a mother.
Okay, now can we introduce some Afrocentric theology into this? Now, we're based on a very Judeo-Christian philosophy, but oftentimes they say those stories are based in African history and religion and philosophy. Did anybody feel like that whole mother daughter also had a very reminiscent feeling of like God and Jesus? That whole, it was like a Masonic type of savior complex, because it seemed like it was a God complex that was also kind of communicated in the story as well. That she was willing to save her daughter at all costs, and thereby and also rid the world of the evil that had plagued her. I just kind of felt
But also the daughter saved her at all costs before she even knew she was her mother.
Yeah.
exactly. So there was a lot of that divine connection that was played, even when one of the characters who was her best, the general's best friend, she said the gods would never be that cruel. But the truth is, the gods actually had brought not only her daughter to her, but the abuser, which was the child's father,
So you
that was
think that he
involved.
was the father? Because I thought a lot of men was raping her every night.
No,
They were.
I think
They,
that guy
You
had his
think
way with her, and
really?
he was the father of Nawi.
yes, that was in her
But I
flashbacks.
thought she said every night she was raped. So every night she was raped by him.
Because remember in the flashbacks, when they kept showing that ear piercing, which was that large black claw that she would end up at the end of the movie cutting off, which was so symbolic of her cutting like the head of the serpent, when she cut off his ear and that piece fell into his hand, it's like she once and for all. Remember when she even, what was it, the stones or the peas that her friend had her read? And then she saw him. That was her trauma. That was her, that was the thing that was holding her back. And yeah, it appeared that he was the one that repeatedly raped her.
Okay, so Marcus and Christy, this young lady, look at her mother and father. She could be nothing but fierce.
And that was to me what the story was. Okay, like in the Greek mythologies, when you're born of these gods, you're going to end up with that deity. You're going to end up with that DNA in you. So there was so many layers to the way they approached this story. It definitely, to me, is a script worth studying, apart from just great structure and how they introduced the characters. And there was no wasted character, no wasted dialogue, how they shot the movie, of course. But there are so many subtexts. And I need to watch it a couple of times. I'm going to watch it again this week because there's so much. Now, there's a question. Okay, will this film have any impact on how the Dahomey tribe are viewed in real life? Yes and no. Yes and no. What are your opinion?
Well, one of the problems I had was, they continued to, some of the tribes, they continued to sell, I'm just stuck on this, sell Africans even after even after the trade had stopped. They continued to do it. So, I mean, I guess for me, the question is what's true and what's not. Did they actually, in the movie, Viola Davis' role and the other women, their thing was to stop selling their own people. Did they actually stop? Did they in real life actually stop?
Oh no, they didn't. They did. They kept going, and that's what our producer was alluding to earlier. Like in this film, they made Naniska, who I think her name was from a real life person, but basically the character was fictional, and she was this voice of reason saying we should do this. But in reality, the homies kept doing it. And I mean, also to answer the producer's next question, will this film have any impact on how the homie tribe viewed in real life? I think, like, I would use the word that Christy used. I think this is going to lead to a romanticization, of the homie. And I mean, I guess I will say that's problematic. I don't want it. I don't think that's ideal, but I think most
movies,
yes, they jazz it up and fluff it up,
yeah, because if not, you just watch it.
Embellishing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
so do you all think because of this movie, this newness, this new history, that there will be an increase of people wanting to go there to see them, to see this history in person?
Oh yeah.
Once again, yes and no. I think once again, yes and no. I think if you're coming to this now, because I know that you said most people love this movie, but then there were some people who not only
I said that based on what I had read. Right. I read so many reviews on it, and just people, they love the action. See, some people who get into history and stuff, they got into all of that. But if you just go like you and I, we just love movies.
Ooh, it was a great movie.
Get into all of that. I got into this was a great movie. This was great acting. This was a great script.
Yes. Great directing, great costumes, great lighting, great choreography. I mean, the training that that they had to go through. Yes.
Yeah, the outfits they wore, all of that was just, just done just extremely well.
Mm-hmm. Oscar worthy. It's Oscar worthy.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny you said it, because my wife, who also jumped in the chat, said this is a great film. She saw it twice. Second time without me, but that's okay. I still love you, baby. But we were in the theater like, this should be nominated, but we were like, but based on history, it probably won't.
You don't think so? You don't think so, Mark?
Or if it's nominated, I feel like they'll do it like they did The Color Purple back in the day. It'll be like, all these nominations and it takes home nothing. I'm still mad about that. When I was like 10, I'm still mad.
Yeah, this is going to be kind of tricky because, number one, everybody was touting this as a follow-up to Black Panther, but from a historical perspective. So I'm like you, it is Oscar worthy. I do believe it's going to get a lot of nominations unless something really comes between now and February that just takes everybody's socks off. But I'm like you. I'm a little concerned that it'll be like costumes, cinematography, sound recording.
So not best acting or best supporting actor.
Best costume design. Yeah, because there's like
yeah,
the same
yeah, I think there's going to be that. Yeah, I think it's going to be something like that. Now, what did y'all think about?
You know what? I was reading, as I read a lot of reviews, they talked about Top Gun receiving, a lot of praise, and it's made a whole lot of money. But one of the things I remember reading was it was not as action packed. It was not as compelling as Woman King.
Okay. Well, I mean,
okay, tell me this:
an essential popcorn movie.
Yes.
There is like no substance. I don't even know who the enemy is. I'm like, who are they fighting? But I loved it. But I can appreciate that for what it is. But like, this is different. This is deeper. So on my year-end list, this will be ranked higher. But I don't know. Like, I can enjoy both.
Tell me this. Okay, can we get into the acting and more so? Okay, Top Gun versus The Woman King is like apples versus oranges. I agree. I would like to find out you all's opinion, since it is a woman-centric movie that was action and historical. Do you think that they will view Black actors differently after seeing Viola and those women in this action-packed movie, like they did, let's say, our girl Angelina Jolie when she did all those Lara Croft movies?
Let me tell you what's going to make them view it differently. That opening weekend of 19 million, because their projections were 12, so that many beat their projections by 7 million, and also what the international box office is, because the constant complaint is Black leads don't do well overseas. So that opening week plus hopefully some good international box office will change their mind, and will probably, I don't know if it'll open the floodgate, but it'll crack the door a little more, and we can probably see some more
Marcus
warrior films.
Marcus, question. Okay, so do you think they will just make Viola Davis an equivalent to Denzel Washington, and we've yet to see a Will Smith character? Because I think that Denzel's still doing action films well into his 60s. Do you think they're just going to end up saying, well, Viola can do a blockbuster film that's action driven, and they're going to just say only she can, like there can be only one Highlander? What do you think? Or do you think that they will look for younger actors to do a build up?
First of all, shout out for the Highlander reference. I love that. Second, you know what? That is probably what's going to happen. Because, as you can see by who gets the lead in films and streaming, I'll be like, these projects, and it's the same 10 people. So, yeah, it will probably just be, hey, let Viola play the badass woman. But
tell me, how you feel about her being already slated to be a part of the Hunger Games?
Great. I mean, those films have stellar cast. Like, you got Woody Harrelson, Elizabeth Banks, Lenny Kravitz surprised me. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. I think she'll get lost in that.
Well, but see, she's the villain. She's the villain.
Yes.
So yeah, and my wife said she thinks Viola Davis is a role model for the next generation. Yes, me too. And I think her being a villain will keep her from getting lost, because
you think so? Well, I mean, she got to do something that set her apart from those main characters, because the main characters are the main characters, and that's basically who people follow. Yeah. So if she's as amazing as a villain as she is, as great as she is in Woman King, I think then she will stand out.
You know who I want to see?
But I'm gonna tell you something. Y'all know the guy who played the king, John Boyega.
Yes.
I don't know if y'all noticed it, but this man, I've seen him in something. He reminds me so much of Denzel Washington. When y'all mentioned him, I don't know what it is, if it's his lip or
if
his
you
something.
watch,
It's something about him that reminds me of
Yeah.
Denzel.
if you watch Breaking, it feels like he's doing a tribute to Denzel Washington and John
The new
Q.
movie? His new
Yeah,
movie?
yeah.
Okay.
Because he takes a bank hostage, and
Yeah.
I'm like, so basically
Yeah.
he's like Denzel and John Q. I mean,
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so
Hey,
I'm
what
just
you
listen.
gonna say to
if
me?
you watch
He
it
did a good
again,
job.
watch him. Just
Yes.
it's just something about his demeanor,
Yes.
his
But
look.
Oh yeah.
Denzel really did impact an entire generation of Black male actors. And it's so good. I wonder how he feels, and more importantly, how does his son feel? That so many Black actors really do like
Mhm.
move into that space, no matter what their genre might be. There's going to be
Exactly.
Denzel Washington, esque approaches to the art.
I mean,
Now,
he's a goat.
Lashana Lynch. What did y'all think about her as far as her break into Hollywood, and do you think that she'll start getting some of those leading roles?
Well, hopefully, I will say though, what is interesting to me, like I've only seen her in kind of actiony type stuff, like
Mhm.
she was kind of supporting cast in Captain Marvel. Then she had a small part in that last Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And I saw her in the last James Bond film where she becomes 007 for like a brief moment in that film.
Yeah,
But I'm
yeah,
just
she did.
wondering what would her stretch be? Because all of these are kind of action packed, super women kind of roles. What else is it that she could play that shows us? Because she's a really good actress.
Yeah, she is.
she might have to
But
go like the rom com or like gritty drama route.
mm,
And I mean, she might have some of those. Like she's kind of new to me.
mhm,
Like I said, I've only seen her in acting stuff. Okay, and my wife said we
mhm.
need more strong Black actors to develop new movies like biopics to talk about our history. I agree. Now that we're getting into Africa, I want to see some Mansa Musa films or maybe a Hannibal film.
Ooh, something, we have definitely, Black cinema has moved into a lot of the horror thriller. And
Yeah.
now with this, of course, we've been into action, Black exploitation, if you really want to take it back to the 70s, 60s, and 70s. But this new resurgence, because we did do a long period of rom-coms, and Love Jones is still one of my favorite movies of all time. But what do you think? And of course, now we're into horror. So what do you think Black cinema specifically will be heading? Of course, we want the general box office. We want the world and domestic box office. But where do you see us going? Just Black cinema and the way we're approaching things.
Base. Well, my
Are
hope
we are we
and
studio only now? Are we all just studio based only?
nah. It's because technology is too good now for the just be studio based because you can literally shoot a movie. People were shooting movies on iPhones like 4 or 5 numbers back. So I know you can shoot a film on that 14 that just came out.
What
And
you say?
yeah, and like there's just too much of an impetus with like formats like quality TV and things of that. And I just know too many brilliant independent unknown filmmakers just in Memphis alone. So I'm sure it's like that across the country and across the world. I mean, I see a lot of independent stuff and not waiting and people find different ways like a quality TV. Does the film have to be produced and written by a Black person for it to be considered Black cinema? I'm gonna
Ooh,
say no.
that's a good film school question. That's a thesis right there. You could do a whole paper on that. What do you think? I'm gonna let Gail go next. Do you think you have to have, put the question back up again, produced and written by a Black person for it to be considered a Black cinema?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on how you define Black cinema.
Mm.
But like what we just saw, you just mentioned that a white female did her role and
Two white
And
females.
two white females, writers
two
and
white
producers.
females.
Yeah.
So is that black cinema? Do you consider that black cinema?
Because it was a black cast with a black lead.
Yeah.
It was
It
in
was
a
the
black
whole movie.
story.
You had a few non-blacks in there, but it was a black movie.
It was a black
And
story with a black
it's a black
lead, with a
story.
black.
So
Yeah.
how do you define how do you define black cinema? Is the
I'm gonna say
question.
yes based on Steven Spielberg directed The Color Purple, but I consider
That's a
that a
black
black
story.
movie.
It's
That's
a black story, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, to me, I think
But
you
I
can.
mean, I guess you mentioned something earlier, Kristen, about the two white females. I mean, do they feel the depth? I mean, how do they feel our blackness? How do they? I mean, what did they put in here in Woman King? Because it was truly black. I mean, the way Viola acted. I mean, is that just how any woman would act, or is that how a black woman would act?
Now, of course, The Color Purple was written by a black woman, but it was directed and produced. Thank you for that clarification on that. But let me say this now. Okay, so we do have two white women who have written and produced a movie, got it greenlit by a studio, and knew to hire a very acclaimed black female director, Gina Prince Bythewood. Okay, and then
Do you think that's what made the difference to the director?
yeah, because the director is going to always color the story and possibly things that they were not sensitive to. Yeah. Gina has such a balance in how she presents conflict. I mean, even back in Love and Basketball, she has a beautiful way of balancing that female male energy, no matter what the storyline is. So they were wise to get her, and then of course Viola. If you put her with the right people, she's going to
shine.
Yeah. And the casting was amazing. Yeah.
But we still haven't answered. We still haven't answered the question. Does it take?
Is it black cinema? I don't
to make
honestly.
Black cinema? I mean, how do you define black cinema? Does that mean everybody from the writing to the end of production, everybody has to be black for it to be black cinema?
Doesn't have to be a Tyler Perry production for it to be a black cinema. Like it doesn't. The studio, the writing, director, casting, singers, and I think we get.
Like Tyler Perry's work. Tyler Perry's work.
That's black cinema. I mean, that's black cinema because his studio is black owned. He produce, directs, and composes, and cast, and acts. I mean, and then he surrounds himself with entirely not only black actors, but people behind the camera too. So there's a lot of diversity that is on his productions. And there are other people who do that in Hollywood too, maybe just not to that scale. But that was always the question, was Will Smith a black actor? Or was he just an actor? I mean, it gets into those type of things. I think that.
Well, a lot of the black actors over time some of them don't want to be stereotyped in black roles. They want to be able to play any role.
That's true. But this new generation, Issa Rae said, unapologetic black. I'm voting for everybody black. So there's also a generational.
I love it. But I just think a black story will.
But black people support black movies. We do. If it's a good movie, black, and that is why Tyler Perry has been successful. These critics and stuff, they don't give him good reviews, but that's all right. The box office tells the story.
The real story. People be voting with their dollar bills. Okay, okay. So the last thing that I had a question about, a sequel or something of this nature. Do you think we're going to end up seeing not a sequel? No sequel to The Lion King.
Well, I thought so because I'm like, is she going to be pregnant?
Ooh.
Is she going to be pregnant?
Yes. Oh yeah, that is a cliffhanger. That is a cliffhanger.
To me, because she definitely had sex with the man.
Yes, definitely. They definitely did that. Okay, can we go a little LGBTQ? Plus, how did you feel? This is just touching on it. When they had an entire woman's army, were you surprised that they did not introduce? Because there is an agenda in Hollywood to basically, definitely communicate that. So, were you surprised that they did not include that in the storyline?
But I
But
feel like
it wasn't
they kind of
included in the
did.
storyline, but it was mentally there.
Yeah, because I feel
Okay.
like Meniska and old girl,
I do too.
Viola.
Yeah, I
yeah,
do too.
Viola and her best friend.
I agree with you on that, Marcus. I agree. But what I liked about it, because that's just a human emotion. It's a human emotion to be intimate. But what I liked about it was they did not allow human emotions or any of that to get in the way of the business of protecting, from fighting, from being fierce. They didn't show any weakness. Like you see a lot of women in these relationships, some are weak. You saw no weakness in these women. Now the young girl, she did show her weakness, but she also showed that she had super strength.
Yes, but she definitely was going to be growing into her warrior space.
And you know what I like? They did not show her weakness to go follow this man. She stayed with her people. She
Yeah.
stayed
Yes, she
with her
did.
people. I don't care how she felt about him. She stayed with her mother and their tribe.
Yeah, she.
They showed
Right.
no weakness for these women. None
Yeah,
of the women were weak.
yeah, she chose
Now it's
duty
interesting.
over affection.
Okay, she questioned them not marrying and having children. Now that's something too, which of course the men, because somebody brought this up, the men warriors could have wives and have children. But we have this issue today that if a woman is in ambitious, has, I'll just say, is in a political path or a business path or ambitious path, that when she has children, that it's a knock against her. But a man having, wife, 5 kids, what I'm saying, it's a plus. I mean, so we
Yeah,
see
because the
that.
woman is at home taking care of everything, and the man doesn't have to take care of all the stuff. And so the woman she's gonna protect her children, she's gonna protect her family, she's gonna be there doing 10 jobs, and the man can go out in the world. But in that movie, in Woman King, they didn't have all the children, they didn't have any of the things to take their attention away from their focus of taking care of their tribe.
So, but the men had an
I thought that
opportunity.
was horrible, though. I thought that was a terrible, misogynistic double standard. Me as a man sitting in the theater, I'm like, well, that's not fair.
Well, I agree that it's not fair, but just think about it. If they had children, if they had families,
Well, yeah, the
do you
producer's
think
probably
they would have
saying
been
what
able
you
to be
saying.
as fierce? Would they have left their children to go fight?
No,
Would they
because
have done?
our producer says I think a woman will develop a softness once they have children. I mean,
Exactly.
But see,
I agree. I agree with that.
This is so interesting because we have, even in modern time, women who are, as they say, 10 toes down, and can
10,
have a
20
brood,
toes down, 20.
and will have a brew of children and still be on the front line of whatever is important, whether they're fighting for justice, whether they're fighting for environmental issues. I mean, there's so many things that a mother can do because she loves her children.
But Krista, that's true. There are a lot of women who can do that, but it's a whole lot of women who don't do it.
Yeah,
a lot of women
99.9.
don't even run for public office.
our
Public
producer
office.
Okay,
the same type of fight.
Okay, this is the same. Okay, but you have women enlisted in the military who are career professionals in the military, all branches in the United States.
What percentage?
Now, once again, it's probably low, but I'm just saying that this also was only 600 to 800 women in a tribe of how many? So you're probably still looking at the same ratio.
Mm-hmm. But they was fierce. They was like 6,000 or 8,000. They might be a few hundred, but they was like thousands.
The question is are they comeback fight? And I am aware that, particularly in the younger generation, once in the United States military, let me just say it like this: in the United States military, the more there has been a push for equality in the military, that there have been more women on the front lines in combat than ever before. Including some people that I know that are 40 and under have actually been on the front line. Whether they're married and single, I mean, that's probably something that we can look into. But I just think that, it is misogynistic in the approach that a woman could not have children, and yet the men warriors could. So, yeah.
So I just looked it up. It's about 16% of women in the total military. 16%.
That's low. That's low. Yeah, and there's a lot of stories that come with that actually, bear out in this story. Okay, so do you all think the young lady who played her daughter, pronounce her name, Marcus, you did it so well.
Well, I'm guessing. Well, I know her first name is Tuso, and I believe the last name is Mbedu.
Mm-hmm.
Tuso Mbedu.
Okay. So, of course, she's already made her mark, and I literally said, I need to research her. So, what do you think will probably be her next movie? Do you think they're going to take her down the action path, or will they end up putting her in some dramas and rom-coms?
I think she's been in dramas and things. Again, she started in her native land of South Africa. So, I mean, yeah, I think all of that'll probably be on the horizon because I feel like she's on the verge of being a it girl. And yeah, our producer's saying, yeah, probably after the heaviness of the Woman King, she's probably gonna want a rom-com next, to kind of do something a little less heavy, maybe something where she doesn't have to be in the gym all the time. I saw a Breakfast Club interview where he was talking about sneaking Doritos, and then the director knocked on the trailer. It's like, oh, hey, how's it going? So yeah. She probably gonna, want to like chill out and not have to pump so much iron and sling swords, and do a little wacky comedy or something. But I think she's on the horizon, and I don't know. I'm gonna just say this: U.S. film companies seeing them on every black but American black. I mean, they got British blacks playing in South Central L.A. So I'm like, they like, let's get some Africans too.
Well, like I said, they are approaching about $40 million. I'm hoping that the numbers will continue to grow and that the dollars that they bring in will help propel them to the next level of greatness in acting, in the roles that they play. I'm just hoping that will matter. I'm hoping those who make the decisions about casting these black actors, that they will see that they're not only great actors, but they can bring in money.
Well, that's what I'm hoping too, because I'm going to give them another $15 plus tax.
I know that's right, because I'm going to say it again.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to. Okay, so of course, the controversy as we get to the ratings, do you think the controversy is warranted that it's an anti-white, anti-male movie?
How can it be anti-white and anti-male? I mean, look at all the movies that's out there every day. Are they anti-black? Are they anti-woman? I mean, I'm just saying. I don't see it that way. This is supposedly based on history, whether all of it is true or not. If they're black, how you gonna it doesn't make sense to me. It's not.
You had a whole lot of women beating on men, honey. You had a whole lot of women beating on men.
But they were warriors. They were warriors. Remember, the men came after them. Remember, they came after them. They didn't like the fact that they were strong and great. They came after them and they showed them. They sent them back home. Those who didn't heads weren't on the floor. They sent them back home.
Anti-white feels like a whiny phrase to me because, like, as they say, where's the lie? Okay. White people were involved in the slave trade. Like, let's not pretend like that didn't happen.
Showed that. They showed their role.
This reminds me. My wife says she sees black girl met teaches black girls to be strong and independent. Yes, it does.
Lencola, I agree with you.
That's right, Lencola. Yeah. And you can be strong and independent and supportive of your king, which is the reason why she was named the Woman King.
She was supportive, 200% supportive of him.
Because remember,
she only disrespected him or went against him one time, and that was to go get her child.
What you said? Come on now.
Because of John Boyega's character, I'm like, okay, yeah. Several of the main characters in this film were despicable, but you also had John Boyega, and you had the mulatto character who was a bit naive, but he was.
But even the male warriors, Even
Yeah,
the male
they showed
warriors,
male warriors. They showed her
that was
talking to them
supportive.
and everything,
They fought together.
preparing with them. So it wasn't just like an all woman warrior tribe. I mean, which it could have been, but it was not. There were men fighting with them side by side.
All right. I just wanted to know.
And you can't say it's anti-white when it was in Africa. It was in Africa. It was about a black tribe.
But no, someone's gonna say that. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you.
It's not
On location
anti-white.
makers,
That was
thank
just
you.
history. Yeah, like
Wait a minute. Okay, what do you mean it just didn't show a strong, healthy black relationship? Where was the weakness in it?
They didn't show relationships because they had a
The
mission.
relationship was to the king. The relationship was just like a lot of people who are in any royal what do you call it, royal forces. Your dedication and loyalty is to the crown or
Well,
to
it
the
kind of, and you
throne.
can compare that, Christy, to priests. Priests, you don't see them having all those relationships. Their dedication is to their God, to their church.
Yeah, our producer is elaborating, saying husband and wife family unit. Yeah, I mean,
But
like,
wasn't she one of the? She was one of the wives. She was one of the wives.
And not only that, it showed a strong sisterhood.
Yeah, actually, now he had multiple wives because I mean, putting it back within the context.
He had multiple wives. There was one that was had his,
Okay. I mean,
I thought she was because she was
because
the one.
She was Woman King was. I mean, Viola wasn't one of his wives, but he had several wives.
The reason I thought she was
anything about fighting, and they was jealous.
Okay. I think that was why I thought she was one of the wives, because the head wife, the first wife, possibly
she wasn't a wife.
She was like, what does he see in her? I thought that she comes home smelling.
Well, she was jealous of the relationship. She was jealous of the relationship because she had so much power with him.
Yeah.
She knew. I mean, she hadn't done nothing. She a housewife. I mean, I'm not against housewives now, but she was in the kingdom, not doing nothing. She wasn't doing nothing. But so she was jealous of the power that. Because look, at the end, he made her the woman king. She wanted to be something. Whatever she wanted to be, she didn't get to be.
Wait a minute. She wasn't even a housewife. She was more like a trophy wife with a sidekick that kept her, laced. He saw Viola as an equal. Then to be seen as an equal is the ultimate proof of a healthy relationship. I guess I'm not speaking to marriage as the only way to be.
And then not only that, what we have to look at is
no. Our producer just said no. Okay. The producer just said no. I guess she didn't agree with what Christy just said. Wow. I mean, we don't
always have to agree. We don't have to agree.
I'm not a big fan of polygamy because I'm like,
Krista, we don't have to always agree.
I'm just gonna be the woman. I'm just gonna hold on to the woman king was more impactful than the wife. I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah.
She was. I mean, she
secured the kingdom. That's the healthiest relationship you could ever have, to secure a kingdom.
Well, then not only that, we did ultimately see this mother-daughter relationship as well.
Which was beautiful.
This loving mother-daughter relationship. And I kind of go with like Markus on the lady who's her best friend. I think that was her friend. I do. I mean, I don't have no proof of it.
Now,
but when they ended the movie with the three of them standing there like a family almost.
Ooh, well, there you go. Okay, so let me say this, and then I'm done. As they say, we're getting to the ratings. Can I just tell you all where I felt like the movie was overall?
Yeah.
Okay, taking all things considered, from the script all the way to the post-production, the lighting, the editing, the acting, the casting, and all like that, it definitely is auteur. I'm gonna take it to the auteur. And in the fact that it literally has people feeling something emotionally is the ultimate proof of cinematic art. Auteur, let's give it up for the auteur, Gina Prince Bythewood. Thank you, Viola Davis. Thank you, casting crew. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's the Oscar speech.
Well, I'm gonna go jump into my ratings. Who did?
Okay.
Auteur yet again, and I'm going to explain. Look, okay, historical inaccuracies. I hear you, but like what period piece doesn't have historical inaccuracies? And look here, I got to be fair because I gave Elvis Auteur, and Elvis showed some of the black people to influence him, but it glossed over how they were robbed by Colonel Tom Parker and Elvis. So if I gave him a pass and gave that Auteur, fair is fair. I'm thoroughly not going to shortchange Viola Davis and Gina Prince Bythewood. That's not what I'm doing today. That is not what I'm doing today. Auteur.
All right, Marcus. We good, Marcus. We good.
Also, do your research.
There you go. Auteur it is. Auteur for the auteur. All right, let's see what Gale has to say.
Okay, so if people want to talk about the history, they can talk about it all they want. But when I go to the movie, I'm not looking for accuracy of history and stuff. I'm looking for great acting, a great script. How compelling is it? Does it have me on the edge of my seat? And I'm just gonna tell you, Woman King did that, and it gets super auteur for me.
We need super auteur for Gale.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, the actors, every last one of them, pretty much, they was amazing.
Okay, then. Okay. All right. So it was not a political story, and it was not a History Channel. It was a blockbuster movie.
Exactly.
Beautiful film. I mean, literally, it moved me. It moved me. So many things.
And I'm hoping that it will get many Oscar nominations, and not just for the cinematography, not just for the clothing, the dress, all the other things that you named. I'm hoping that there will be some best actors, supporting actors, all of that, because the acting was amazing. The script was very good. I'm hoping that they will get many Oscar nominations, and not only get the nominations, but win some of the nominations.
Ditto. Thank y'all so much for letting me play with y'all tonight. Thank you. Thank y'all for letting me play with y'all tonight.
All right, you were great, Kristen, and Marcus, and I appreciate you being on here with us, adding that extra value.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? The conversation was great. You know what I'm saying? Well, sadly, guys, we are coming to the end of this. So, for Chrissy Taylor and Gale Jones-Carson, we're gonna wrap this up. And if you a long time listener, y'all know the way I wrap this up. First, I want to ask you to like the video, comment down below on the video, and subscribe to the On Location Memphis YouTube channel. We hope you've enjoyed this kind of spoiler deep dive discussion of The Woman King. And as always, guys, take some time and treat yourself to a movie. And we will see you next time.